Michael, good afternoon. How are you?
Scott, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on the show.
We appreciate you hanging out. Is it 20 years?
This is my 21st year with the ball club, yes.
21st. Wow. That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable that I've kept a job this long.
That's not true.
It is in this business.
Yes, it is. You're a very fortunate man, sir.
I know. I'm very lucky.
Let's talk a little bit. They had the rookie mini camp the last 3 days, I think. And I think the veterans are coming in today, right? Isn't there more stuff happening?
They're here. And we're in phase 2 of the off-season program, and the rookies are now able to assimilate in with the veterans. You get to the point where you have the classes graduate for the semester schools, and it's not as big a factor as it was with the quarter schools anymore. Players can come in after the graduation classes walk, which is generally about May the 10th. And so what we do is we have them come in that particular weekend, do the rookie minicamp, and then just have them stay. And so they are now in with the veterans, and the overall process of getting them involved and getting them up to speed is fully happening. We're now at 89 guys on the roster, and so the off season is off and running, and we're going to be here working for the next month.
That's awesome. So a lot of learning and different things going on. You introduce everybody, like Rashaan Evans has had to meet everybody, but you get to work immediately. Just give me top-of-mind awareness from you on what you saw from Rashaan Evans the last 3 days.
Exactly what we expected, and that is great athleticism, leadership, understanding of the position, understanding of multiple positions on the defense from his time at Alabama. He so fit exactly what the Tennessee Titans needed. They needed a plug-and-play linebacker who could also give them that pass rush ability that you don't find in most guys that play an inside linebacker spot. The fact that he did not start at Alabama for 3 years and that they had to find ways to get him on the field, I think benefited him greatly as a senior and benefits him coming into the NFL because it has given him a great deal of versatility that most inside linebackers don't have, especially when they arrive in the league.
So how did he exhibit that to you without pads? Well, you've got a trained eye. What were you looking at?
You're just looking at where he goes when the ball is snapped, whether it be 11 on 11 or 7 on 7 drills, and his instincts are so good. Now, in the rookie minicamp, it's oftentimes like watching the freshman in high school or the freshman in college. Guys go the wrong way. Yes, I know it's the pros. And yes, I know some of them were drafted and played at big-time programs, but it happens all the time. Guys, you know, they don't know what the snap count is. They don't know what the play call is. They don't understand the assignment due to the fact that it's all new and it moves at a very different speed. Rashaan Evans didn't have that problem. He looked exactly like he knew what he was doing from the moment that he came out there in terms of calling the signals, where he went on pass plays, where he went on run plays. We know he's physical. I'm not worried about his tackling. You want to see the mental understanding of what was going on. And the coaches aren't going to brag on him too much because they want to keep him very hungry, and they want to make sure that he knows he does not have this down pat yet. But to say they were very pleased, I think, would be safe.
And what does it say of Vrabel to take this guy, number one? As you know, the GM and coach have to work together. It was an obvious hole for Tennessee, but I think Vrabel probably had a lot to say so in this selection.
It doesn't break his heart. Doesn't break his heart at all that they would take an inside linebacker like this player. And if you go back and look at any of the tape from the Alabama Pro Day, the guy that Mike Vrabel spent the most time with that day was Rashaan Evans. As a matter of fact, he put on the hand pads, the arm pads, whatever they're known as, and worked him out himself. And as you saw that time that he spent with Rashaan Evans, looking back, it was pretty intentional. The Titans had a pretty good idea that this was going to be a player that would have a chance to be there in the mid-20s. Now, what the Titans knew is if they waited, there was a pretty good chance New England was going to take him at 23, or Pittsburgh was going to move up and take him ahead of the Titans, which is why Tennessee traded with Baltimore to get up to number 22 to snag him. So they had their eye on him for a long time, and there's no doubt that he was a favorite of Mike Vrabel's in the whole process. I think he might have even been a bigger favorite of the general manager, John Robinson. And again, I go back to the versatility and the completeness of his game coming into a defense that improved dramatically last year from 2016. There were a lot of areas where they took major steps, but they need another playmaker. And this is a guy who has a chance to be a playmaker very quickly in this defense.
And he's a 3-down guy.
Right.
And you know he can cover against the pass, but he's terrific off the edge. How do you envision them using him?
That's it. They can use him so many different ways, Scott. You've touched on what the real secret behind him is. They can leave Wesley Woodyard on the field as that, nickel linebacker, so to speak, and then they can have him rush the passer, or he can play the linebacker spot. I mean, there's so many different ways that you're able to utilize him in all of the personnel groupings where you don't have to take him off the field. And Woodyard is a very good linebacker, but Woodyard is 32 years old. And the best way Woodyard has worked in recent years is not being on the field for every single snap. The other thing that the Titans have, last year they took a linebacker out of UCLA by the name of Jayon Brown, who's a 220-pound linebacker. They drafted him specifically to play the nickel linebacker spot where he would cover tight ends. So I can see some situations where Rashaan is on the field with both of those guys, Rashaan is on the field in place of Woodyard, or Rashaan could be on the field in place of Jayon. NFL teams want to have flexibility, not only for their looks and their coverages, but, Scott, understanding during the course of the year, you're going to have injuries, and you better have flexibility.
And if you make substitutions, they kind of pick up on that. You know what I mean? So if Rashaan Evans is out there, you can line him up anywhere, right? I mean,
well, you don't know where he's going to be at different points, and I can see a small rush package where they have him in with two outside linebackers, and they're bringing him from different angles. And the great thing about where the Titans are defensively is Dick LeBeau was our defensive coordinator last year and did an amazing job. The guy's in the Hall of Fame as a player. He should be in the Hall of Fame as an assistant coach as well. But he was succeeded by a man by the name of Dean Pease, who was in New England and spent the last few years in Baltimore. And Dean Pease is a heck of a coach. And Dean Pease does a lot of the fundamental things that Dick LeBeau did. So even though the Titans have changed coordinators, they're not having to change so much and teach so much philosophy, meaning that I think they'll be able to take what they did a year ago and build on it with a few more wrinkles.
Do you think, and Rashaan is obviously so impressive in a press conference situation. I watched his from Saturday. He looked like a 10-year veteran handling the questions. It was amazing.
Well, and the other part, too, is they were very hard on him on the practice field. They were not just loving, Rashaan, you're the best ever. He was treated like any player would have been treated because, A, they know he can handle it. He's been coached hard before. And B, because if they were showing that in that leadership quality, in that way, hey, you've got to get here, you've got to improve, run to the drills, do whatever, the other players are going to follow him. And it's that grown-up ability that he has, that what you're talking about with the interviews, what you're talking about in the one-on-one drills, the team drills, calling signals. But he sets a tone. And the fact that this young man has been coached hard and knows how to handle it, they don't have to treat him like a fragile flower. You don't need to give him a hug after every drill. He gets it. He's a football player. And he's also a very grown-up human being, and that was one of the reasons they loved him so much is this is a grown-up defense. I mean, when you talk about the Titans on defense, you're talking about Jarrell Casey and Brian Arakpo and Derek Morgan, and I mentioned Wesley Woodyard, and Jonathan Cyprian and Logan Ryan. I mean, these are not newcomers to the league. These are guys who have had success. So if a young guy's going to come in and is going to help this defense, then that player had better have a lot of maturity about him. And Rashaan Evans absolutely does. He checked every box for the Tennessee Titans when it came to player, person, and personality.
Just a couple of minutes more, Mike Keith, the Titans play-by-play. Derrick Henry, Murray's gone now. He's going to be the bell cow. He certainly looked unbelievable against Kansas City in the playoffs. I mean, you kind of have known, I'm going to guess, what you had in him for a long time before the National Football League did.
True. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question that the Titans have understood where he was. Now, was he as complete as DeMarco Murray coming in? No. Because DeMarco Murray's a veteran back, knows how to do it all, knows how to do everything the right way, excellent in the pass game. And for Derrick Henry to understudy him for 2 years was the greatest thing that could have ever happened to him. He comes into this year as the lead guy, understanding exactly what that role looks like. When you're in high school and college, you're the lead guy. That means they're just going to hand you the ball. When you're the lead guy in the NFL, you have to know how to do all of it in order to be able to stay on the field. And we have let good backs go in the past, guys who have gone on to success other places, because all they could do was run the football. So when they came on the field, Scott, everybody and their brother knew so-and-so's getting the ball because he has no clue how to pass protect. Well, that limits an offense. Derrick Henry was better than that when he came in, but now to the level of understanding that he has and his ability to pass protect, his ability to catch the football, all of the subtle things that go with being a lead back in the NFL, to watch him leading drills on the field right now and to watch how he operates, he looks like an even more grown-up player. And let's face it, physically, he's always looked like a grown-up player.
Yeah, and he's a workout freak. I mean, to me, it seems like these Alabama guys that they have, the coaches have to be loving them. They don't have to worry about them robbing a bank or not getting the work in, because they treat it like a business at Alabama, right? I mean, there's something to be said for drafting that.
There really is, because there's a professionalism to what they do in how they operate all the time. Do they know what to eat? Do they know how much rest they need to get? Are they drinking enough water? Do they get in their notebooks enough in terms of understanding? They have to know a game plan and play calls and things of that sort. Those are the advantages that you get with a player who comes from a program like Alabama, is there is a professionalism to how they handle their business. Now, there are still things to learn in the pros. There's no question about it. And you have money now, and you have more time on your own now. I mean, there are things that you have to manage, but there's a much better chance that those players are going to be successful because they are taught the right things about how to go about their business and their program. And if you look at what they do academically at the big-time programs, and certainly Alabama's right at the top of that list, but the majority of them, those players come in and they say, hey, I want to graduate in 3.5 years, or I want to get my degree in 3 years because I think I may go pro. Well, they understand what that's going to take, Scott. They get that they've got to go to class, they've got to manage enough hours, and that type of mindset carries over to the job of being a pro football player. I think that's one of the most valuable things that a college player gets from coming out of that sort of program, and we definitely see it here and have seen it consistently.
Final question. I know it helps. I mean, not that you guys need help selling tickets, but it's got to help to have SEC guys, Alabama guys, Tennessee, wherever, in the program. I would think that's just a feather in the cap when you can do that.
Don't hurt.
Yeah.
It was as if, and you remember this, Scott, when we selected Javon Curse in 1999, and he was a Florida Gator, of course, but that was such a credibility thing for us because in our part of the country, obviously there are a lot of University of Tennessee fans, Vanderbilt fans right around Nashville, but at the same time, Nashville has so many people who are from other parts of the region and other parts of the country. I mean, this is an SEC melting pot here. So anytime we have those big-name SEC guys, particularly when they come from a place like Alabama where it's not a hard drive to get here on Sundays, it's certainly good for business. Every time we draft an SEC player, yes, I say a prayer of thanks. Absolutely. It helps my job.